that God's understanding of diversity is expansive. I've got to make space for myself to expand into where God has for me to go. I think it is kind of human to retreat and to just feel safe in what we know, in togetherness, which is not always authentic. Something that I've always pondered on is, how does God look at diversity and human diversity? You know, it says in the Bible that he wants us to be fruitful and multiply and to spread out in the earth. And I was reading Genesis 11, where it talks about the fall of the Tower of Babel. In creating this, it would have been like a temple to access God and make names in themselves instead of the creator God. Were united by one language and they're all in the same space. Whereas chapter before, God said that he wanted people to be dispersed across the earth. With the creation or the building of the Tower of Babel, they all wanted to be in the one place in Shinar and not spread out as God had intended for humanity. And when we look at language, one thing that I'll say is the reason why we have diverse languages is because we are located in different geographical fields. So as people spread out, languages form and disperse and evolve and change. And one thing I realized, and I don't know if it's a result of or it was sort of supernatural and it's happening, but it says that their language was confused and then they were scattered throughout all the earth, which is something that I guess God had a purpose for. Generally speaking, when you look at the diversity, like linguistic diversity, it comes from the spreading out of people in different places. That's why we have these things. It was also showing me that God endorses multiplicity, somewhat like human different. One thing also is that with the Tower of Babel, it just speaks to us how we want to make systems of uniformity, which in that way we're all the same. And when you go further down that line, it can create totalitarianism or complete control. And that's against the tenets of love that God so wishes for humanity. Uniformity and unity are different. With the gospel message, unity comes from the diverse people coming together based by a shared vision that is not imposed upon them. I think what I've learned, one thing that I just find so fascinating about the Bible is that it sort of completes itself, it complements itself. In Acts 2, the apostles and disciples, they spoke in different tongues and the people around them all heard them in their own native language, which is amazing when you think about it. And it's very poignant that they didn't hear them speaking all in the same language, but it was different ones, which just goes to show that God's understanding of diversity is expansive. And one lesson that I've learned in this is I've got to make space for myself to expand into where God has for me to go. I think it is kind of human to retreat and to just feel safe in what we know, in togetherness, which is not always authentic, but I believe that we should welcome the unfamiliar. We should welcome it and be flexible. And when I say unfamiliar, that might be a situation, a certain people, group, or whatever it is. There can be unity in that process as well. And what I love is it also speaks to the fact that you can facilitate unity in as many ways possible, really, in as many modes that are necessary to share the vision, to bring together humankind, that supersedes our tribes and our languages. And we don't have to fit in. Just like the disciples, they made themselves available at the appointed time to receive the Holy Spirit and then speak in those different tongues. We can allow God to lead and break up our systems of thinking and expand them, really. When I think about it for myself, I was born in a multicultural environment, yet born in a place born on the backs of an empire that colonized where I came from, and that's the language that I speak. And thankfully, it's not the only language I speak, but it's the main one that I'm proficient in. And I look at this story, I look at so many others who are in environments where they actually learn to converse with different people of different tribes. They learn the language. And for us, sometimes in the UK, it seems like it's such an effort to do that. But it's a challenge to myself to I guess, force myself to put that work in, even though it seems like a lot. And it's one of the goals that I've had for a long time, to be multilingual. I used to say that I wanted to be fluent in at least 5 languages by the time I'm 25. And that time is near approaching, so we're not there yet, but I guess it's just a means of expanding into it, and I guess humbling yourself, because that's the place where God meets. And through it all, even in the hardships, even in the constraints, the way is through.